Hello, good evening. It's News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda. I am Portia Gabor.
And I am Martin Aseidu Dartey. Let's bring you the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Government to declare river bodies and forest reserves as security zones in a latest move to stop illegal mining.
And also coming up tonight, Ghana Police Service dismantles criminal gang linked to the killing of some police officers and a series of armed robberies at rural banks across 5 regions.
And also coming up, minority in parliament chides government for what it describes as blatant constitutional breach in an agreement to accept non-Ghanaian deportees from the U.S.
Coming up in business news, a new Ghana Statistical Service survey reveals the country's tourism sector generates 15.4 billion cedis.
And on the international front, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asks international community to stop Russia now or risk expansion of Ukraine war by Putin. We have details of all these stories and more. Be part of the show. Let your thoughts be heard in the comment section.
We begin with illegal mining, and the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa says government will soon declare forest reserves and water bodies security zones to stop illegal mining. The new measure, many believe, is in reaction to calls to declare a state of emergency in galamsey areas.
One is the policy reform, one is the stakeholder engagement, one is to deal with the water, one is to strengthen enforcement. All of these things that I'm talking about, why did we establish the Blue Water Guards? And now, just in the last week or so, the president has made it very clear that we are moving a step that says that all the water bodies and the forest reserves are going to be national security zones. You know what that means? It's red zone, no go. And we are now preparing to deploy permanent security forces in this area. The level of distraction that this new government came to meet, we are under no illusion that this is going to be solved in 8 months. But we are proud of what we are doing. We are seeing the progress. And at every time when we believe we have to strengthen what we are doing, we do. And that's exactly the point I'm making. And let me say that those who are really calling for the government to do more, we understand. Now, this is a hearing, a listening government, and we are going to do more.
Right, so that's what the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has been saying. Let's go and engage a security analyst on this to find out what exactly it even means if you say you're declaring an area a security zone. Is it the same as declaring a state of emergency? Dr. Victor Doke is a security consultant and analyst and a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Doc, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Martin. Good evening to you and Portia.
The conversation largely has been on the declaration of a state of emergency. Now the minister has used a different set of nomenclature, which is a security zone for our river bodies and forest reserves. Is it the same thing?
No, Martin, it is not. Now, let's take it one at a time. To declare an area a military zone, it means geographically stationing the personnel in that area, making that area operational with regards to, military forces, either for operations like combat training or whatever purposes. And also, when it comes to their personnel, the protection of their personnel, and then key essential assets So in this particular context, you're talking about river bodies. So it means they are declaring all river bodies a military zone, as the minister already said, stationing personnel there, which comes with its own resources, operational materials, training, capacity building for these personnel who are going to go there. When we talk about a state of emergency, now, the state of emergency comprises the components of the short, mid to long-term aspects of dealing with the issue, uprooting the root causes of the issue until the causes of the issue are dealt with. You don't let it do that emergency. But with regards to the military zone, it has a timeline in this context. To what extent are we looking at? How long? What is the roadmap? You understand? It comes with its own logistical challenges. And I don't know how they're going to maneuver or roll it out, but these are two different concepts you're talking about.
And kindly reposition yourself for me so my viewers can hear you a lot more clearly. And my next question then would be, looking at the level of devastation to forest reserves and water bodies and the call for the declaration of a state of emergency and what government intends to do now, are you confident that this will actually be a major step in resolving this galamsey menace?
Now, this will not momentarily resolve the galamsey menace. We are talking about how many personnel involved, logistics, which is very key, which is a challenge within our security sector itself. How much funds are we going to allocate for this purpose itself? The training of the men there, the welfare of the men there. So in the mid to long term, it really calls or should tell us that this is going to be in the long haul. So I'm asking myself, why not just declare the state of emergency? With all these resources, personnel that are going to go in there, and then you deal with the situation. But this will not and does not mean that this menace is going to be dealt with in the long term.
Dr. Victor Doke, thank you so much for your thoughts on this. And obviously, it's one that would be quite topical. I will let you know how it plays out in the coming days.
Still on illegal mining, poisoned food, poisoned water, and a poisoned air. That's what Ghanaians are gleefully consuming as the ravages of illegal mining destroys not just lands and vegetation cover, but now human lives. The latest evidence of the full extent of harmful activities of illegal mining is causing has been captured in a mercury and other heavy metals impact assessment report. The report, which spans August 2024 to September of this year, has revealed alarming levels of mercury concentration along with lead and other harmful chemicals. Now, my colleague Martin is on the magic wall with a breakdown of some of the findings, and this is certainly alarming.
Very alarming and quite shocking. In fact, when the report came out, bits and pieces, people started asking questions. Does that mean that the food you're going to buy from the market tomorrow and going forward, is it safe? Can you consume it? But let's look at the details of what exactly was captured in the report. And this was actually conducted by the Environmental Protection, the EPA, and also Pure Earth. Now, they decided to go to a number of regions and then test both the soil, the air, and water, and they've come out with some really shocking revelations. So we'll take you through them briefly. In specific areas around the Ashanti region, they went to some communities. One of them also, we'll mention the location and then what exactly was tested. We'll look at what components were found, what bad components were found in either water, soil, or food item, the concentration level, what the threshold should go, the acceptable level, and then the excess that they found in these research that they did. So they started from Konongo Zongo, which is in the Ashanti region. They tested the soil there. What they found in it was mercury, and they found that instead of the soil having a minimum of 10 parts per million, that's the ppm, 10 parts per million in the soil, they found in excess of 1,342 parts per million. That is 13,000% and more of mercury in soils in and around the Konongo area. Konongo, Dumase, same thing. They tested the soil. They realized that instead of the 10 ppm, they found 909 ppm. We have over 9,000% of mercury, a very dangerous substance in the soil that was tested. Then Esiakwa, this time the eastern region, they tested the water there. Water was polluted with mercury, and instead of 0.001 milligrams per liter, they got 0.01 milligrams per liter, and that's about 900%. So that, again, tells you the concentration of mercury in the water in and around the eastern region. Wasa Kenyako, western region, they went to Kononguzongo, Akwaboso, and then pumpkin leaves was what they've tested in the western north area. Now, in various places, they tested the air, they tested fish. From Kononguzongo, for instance, they tried the fish as well. They realized that the fish had lead in it, and this is what was expected, 0.3 milligrams per kilogram. They had between 1.7 to 2.8 milligrams per kilogram, excess of about 800% plus of lead in the fish that was found in Kononguzongo. They bought a number of food items in Western North. They tested it and realized that there was lead in some of the food items that they purchased. And specifically within vegetables, we are told that you can get about just 0.1 milligrams per kilogram of lead in it. That is scientifically accepted. However, they found about 3.1 milligrams per kilogram in some of the food items they've tested in the Western North region, excess of about 3,000 plus, and when you come to the areas in and around the Ankobra River, specifically Nyamibechere, they tested the water there and saw that arsenic, another very dangerous substance, was in the water. The allowable threshold should be just about 0.01 milligrams per liter, but they got 3.30 milligrams per liter, about 32,000 plus excess of arsenic in the water that the people are drinking. So it tells you that the conversation about galamsey and its impact is very, very real to many people. And so they found generally that mercury was high in soils at Kononguzongo and Odumasi, dangerously high in the air at Wasa Kenyako, water exceedance up to about 900%. For lead, it was widespread in areas around Esiakwa, up to about 9,600% above limit, and food crops, pumpkin leaves, for instance, they had in excess of 3,000 plus. Arsenic, clearly around Kononguzongo, again, they realized that water bodies there, fish and other food items were also heavily contaminated. So it raises the concern about how quickly we need to put measures in place to curb, slow this. Otherwise, the next food you probably may be buying in the market may be contaminated without your knowledge.
Exactly, Martin. And how would you know if the consumer you are buying or the cassava you are buying is laden with arsenic or mercury? More questions than answers. Absolutely. And you can't sit on concerns about illegal mining. Yeah. Let's now go to Parliament, where the minority is raising red flags over what it calls a blatant constitutional breach, accusing governments of secretly agreeing to accept non-Ghanaian deportees from the United States without parliamentary approval. The group is also demanding the immediate suspension of the agreement as it raises pressing concerns of sovereignty, security and policy.
The caucus in Parliament is calling for the immediate suspension of the Ghana-US deportation agreement, describing it as unconstitutional. According to them, government's conduct reflects a lack of respect for the rule of law.
The fact that we, the minority members on the Foreign Affairs Committee, had to learn of this development in the media is very disturbing and is consistent with attempts by the executive to disregard the other arms of government. Parliamentary ratification is required for the implementation of any such agreement. In operationalizing the agreement with the United States without parliamentary ratification is a direct constitutional violation of Article 75 and an affront to the authority of the Supreme Court. It is therefore deeply concerning that the government continues to operationalize the agreement with the United States despite these flagrant constitutional breaches. Such conduct reflects a lack of respect for the rule of law.
Ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Abujinapo, is as a result asking government to halt the implementation of the agreement until it is ratified by Parliament.
The foreign policy consequences of this agreement are equally alarming. The decision to serve as a receiving point for West African deportees against their wishes with emphasis from the United States risks our country being perceived as aligning itself with the United States government's current immigration enforcement regime, one which has been criticized as harsh and discriminatory. We therefore reiterate our call on the government to suspend with immediate effect the unconstitutional implementation of this agreement until Parliament has duly exercised its constitutional mandate to scrutinize same.
Responding to recent comments by Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who described development in Gaza as genocide and reaffirmed Ghana's solidarity with the Palestinian people, the Minority Caucus warns that government risks compromising Ghana's credibility as an impartial actor on the international stage.
Ghana's enduring strength in international relations has always come from its ability to maintain independence, neutrality, and credibility, even when global powers have sought to draw us into their competing blocs. Departures from this tradition, if not checked, could diminish our moral authority on the international stage and compromise our wider national interests.
He urged government to, while advocating for peace, not to take sides in the deeply divided conflict.
In responding to this conflict, Ghana's official statements continue along this tradition, speaking clearly to the need for peace, the protection of civilians, and adherence to international law, by doing so in a manner that avoids the perception of taking sides in a very deeply divisive conflict.
The Ghana Police Service has dismantled a criminal gang linked to the killing of some police officers and a series of armed robberies at rural banks across 5 regions. 10 suspects have been arrested and 14 weapons, including AK-47 rifles stolen from police officers, have also been retrieved.
The Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohunu, announced the arrest during a press conference at the National Police Headquarters on Wednesday, September 24. He said the gang had attacked banks between April and September using the same methods in different locations. The 6-month operation, which relied on intelligence gathering and surveillance, led police to hideouts in the Ahafo, Western, Central, Eastern, and Ashanti regions, including towns such as Ejisu and Obuasi.
The operation over the past year, the service recorded a number of robberies targeting financial institutions, particularly rural banks. My team and I, after analyzing these robberies, observed a similar pattern. We immediately got to work. After painstaking investigations, working with credible informants, analyzing available data, surveillance across several regions, we launched a targeted operation to arrest these criminal elements.
3 suspects were killed in confrontations with police, while 2 others are still on the run. The Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, Commissioner of Police Lydia Donko, stated that the gang carried out 11 attacks beginning on April 10, 2025 at the Adansi Rural Bank in Fomena and concluding in September 14, 2025 at St. Martin de Porres Cooperative Credit Union in Atonso.
10 members of the syndicate have been arrested and are in police custody, as you just witnessed them today in this room. 3 other suspects were shot dead following an exchange of fire with the police during the operation, and efforts are ongoing to get the remaining suspects arrested. The suspects are Akwesi Eje, alias Cobra, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, Samuel Apia, alias Akwesi Mugu, Francis Akwa, alias Preman, David Obobi, alias Wasti, Martin Akansina, alias 1 billion. Nana Yao Frimpong, alias Mystical. Kojo Atingawo, alias Boga. Samuel Akwesi Jan, Stephen Say. Koku Pepra, alias X5, he is deceased. Bozin is also deceased. Kwabna Owusu Ansa is at large, and one Albert also at large.
Police also recovered an AK-47 rifle that belonged to Corporal Francis Eduyao, who was killed by armed robbers on Bibiani Guaso Highway on November 29, 2024. 4 motorbikes, mobile phones, and assorted jewelry were also seized from different hideouts. The Police Management Board has approved promotions for several officers, including 3 chief inspectors who have been elevated to assistant superintendents of police. Joseph Armstrong, Good Alibwe TV3, Accra.
In more news tonight, Majority Chief Whip and Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Defiameto, and 2 others, private legal practitioner Israel Tete and the Ghana Law Society, have filed a writ at the Supreme Court challenging the exclusive recognition of the Ghana Bar Association in Ghana's legal and constitutional framework. According to the plaintiffs, the current GBA, which operates as a private voluntary association, should not be treated as the sole representative body of lawyers in the country. They are seeking 7 key declarations, including a call for the court to interpret references to the Ghana Bar Association in the Constitution and the Legal Profession Act as generic or umbrella terms rather than referring exclusively to the current GBA. They further argue that granting such exclusive status to one private group violates constitutional rights to equality and freedom of association as guaranteed under Articles 17 and 21 1E of the 1992 Constitution.
The law is the law, isn't it? All right, to some other stories now. Cocoa has been one of the major backbones of Ghana's economy and foreign exchange earner for the country. But there are currently fears that the country risks losing its second position in the world as a cocoa producer due to the consistent low production conversion of farmlands for illegal mining, amongst others. Evelyn Tingma has more in this report.
Ivory Coast for many years has been the world's leading producer of cocoa, with Ghana being the world's second largest producer. But Ghana's second position is being threatened now, as reports say Ecuador is projected to overtake the country by the 2025-2026 cocoa season with an ambitious target of 800,000 tons as against Ghana's 600,000 tons. This, experts in the sector say, could impact negatively on the country's foreign exchange earnings and the national economy, which relies heavily on cocoa. Industry players have attributed the threat to the drop in cocoa production for 4 continuous years, devastation of farmlands by swollen shoots virus, and the destruction of farmlands for illegal mining. Co-convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform, Obed Owusu Adai, said the consequences could be dire.
If you have this news coming up showing that your production is declining, that you are not able to meet the demands, traders will begin to run away from you. There will be lack of investment in the space. Companies are interested in where there is progress. When they see that consistently for the past 5 seasons, your production is dropping to the extent that Ecuador is now about to take over as a second producer, they will not bring money into the sector to invest in it. They would rather go to Ecuador, go to Indonesia, go to Colombia. This problem started small. They could have dealt with it. They sat down for it to reach the level that it has gotten, to the extent that, for me, it's at a state of emergency.
But has this development come as a surprise?
Consistently since 2020, Ghana's production numbers have been dropping steadily. So we are not surprised. If we are not careful, in the next 5 years, the likes of Indonesia, the likes of Colombia, even Cameroon, our own neighbors, will come and overtake us, because it doesn't appear there's any strategic plan and action.
Owusu Adai said Ecuador is getting it right due to massive investments and urged Ghana to adopt strategies to avert the country from losing its number 2 spot.
The cocoa solution viral disease is destroying farms in the western and western north and even part of Ashanti region. What are we doing about it? We need to cut those farms and rehabilitate them. What Ecuador is doing right is that there's a massive reform that they have undergone. Not only Ecuador, Southern American countries. So 4 or 5 years ago, when they realized that the price of cocoa was going up, they started putting their lands into better cocoa practices.
Industry players insist there is an urgent need for strategic investment and policy changes to address the challenges in the cocoa sector. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Accra.
The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, is urging staff of the Ministry of Education to demonstrate patience and empathy when engaging with frustrated parents and students over the ongoing school placement challenges. She made the call during a visit to the ministry in Accra.
The Vice President's visit comes at a time of a growing tension over the computerized school selection and placement system. Some students are still without placement, leading to frustration among parents and students. During her visit, Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman appealed to staff to remain calm and courteous in responding to public concerns. She also expressed optimism that government will work to expand access to top-tier schools.
I know you are doing your school placement and you have all kinds of people besieging, if not your offices, your homes, your phones, and all of them. What can we do? Let's just try very politely to explain the situation. What we tried to do then was to create more A schools with the E blocks. And that's one of my regrets, that we were not able to implement all of it, to run the whole system, to demonstrate that yes, you can have more A schools. And it doesn't matter whether they are boarding or D, but the rest they say is history. We'll pick up from where we are, and with everybody's support, we'll do the best we can.
Minister for Education Haruna Idrisu commended the Vice President for her leadership and reaffirmed the government's plan to establish a public university in the Bono region. He also raised concerns about rising indiscipline in schools.
Emphasize that NASIA should play a more elaborate role, and schools should conduct randomized searches in order that students don't go into campus with this. But I've assured the Director General of GS that they have your absolute support in ensuring and not compromising on any matter of discipline.
On the government no-fee policy, Minister Idrisu stressed the importance of sustaining the initiative to ensure equal access to education.
The most impactful initiative, as I assumed office as minister, has been the no-fee stress. And it is my wish that we do everything possible to sustain it as a government.
In response, the Vice President assured that government remains committed to sustaining the policy.
Whether we are setting up a fund or not, it's the same pot, isn't it, from which we are going to create the fund. Therefore, we may want to envisage a time where the pot is big, the pie is big. Actually, the pie should be so big that even if you have 10%, it's okay. So as a country and as an economy, we have a lot of work to do. And I have no doubt that all of us will put our hands to the wheel and ensure that we are building a very, very stable country for all of us.
The Vice President's visit signals renewed effort to address educational challenges and uphold the quality and integrity of Ghana's learning systems.
Still watching News 360 on TV3. Stay with us. Business, sport, entertainment, all coming up.
I love President Charcoal. Why? When there are so many other charcoal toothpastes. That's both.
News 360, I am Michael. International visitors spent over 50. Provides a comprehensive look at the economic power of tourism.
The survey, which covered the last quarter of 2022 to the third quarter of 2023, found that more than 901,000 international visitors came to Ghana. The vast majority, 888,584, translating to 98.6%, were overnight guests, and it's their spending that drove the huge economic value. Launching the report, government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu emphasized the importance of the findings.
West Africans and Americans showed strong interest in our tourist sites. Hotels were the most popular accommodation, and the top destinations included Independence Square, the Arts Center, Cape Coast Castle, and the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. Together, overnight visitors spent 15.2 billion Ghana cedis, highlighting tourism's enormous economic impact.
The report indicated that same-day visitors were 12,864.
Nearly three-quarters of them traveled by air. Collectively, same-day visitors spent 24 million Ghana cedis, providing a boost to local businesses. And their favorite attractions included the Bisa Abrewa Museum, Cape Coast Castle, the National Museum, and the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park.
The data also shows that overnight visitors were mostly adults aged 36 to 64, with the main reason of their trip being to visit friends and relatives. The report's recommendations include promoting short-stay tourism and enhancing the visitor experience with modern facilities. It's a clear roadmap to help Ghana's tourism sector reach its full potential.
The German Development Cooperation, in partnership with the Association of Ghana Industries AGI, has successfully completed the African SME Network for Exchange and Trade project, a crucial initiative aimed at boosting Ghana's small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. The project, operating under the brand Invest for Jobs and funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, has made significant strides in addressing the substantial financing and technical gaps faced by SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa.
Bridging the financial and knowledge gaps, SMEs in Ghana face a financial deficit of approximately $4.8 billion, a key barrier to growth. The African SME Network for Exchange and Trade (AFNEXT) project, funded by the German government and implemented by GIZ and AGI, directly tackled this by facilitating and co-financing the procurement of more than 200 pieces of machinery and equipment for 57 beneficiary SMEs. Head of Ghanaian SME component at Invest for Jobs at GIZ, Eunice Ejewa Ejapong, observed that investment is not just about new machines.
Most SMEs would want to expand, however, they do not have the needed equipment as well as the technical know-how to do so. And so through this project, we decided to support the SMEs so then they are able to upgrade or expand their businesses. They are able to scale up, increase their productivity, and then be able to create more decent jobs.
Director of Finance and Administration at AGI, Nathaniel Kwakupong, noted the support was tailored to the specific needs of each enterprise.
And the project was also structured in such a way that AGI actually assumed the role of ownership of the project, such that any time equipment are to be purchased, it has to go through AGI, where AGI owns the project and then in turn gives to the SME beneficiaries.
The combined approach of financial assistance, capacity building and international exposure is projected to accelerate business growth and create more than 300 decent jobs.
The board of ADB Bank has announced a profit of over 35 million cedis for the 2024 financial year, marking a sharp turnaround from 2 consecutive years of heavy losses. This was revealed at the bank's 30th annual general meeting held in Accra. The bank had previously posted losses of approximately 370 million cedis in 2022, followed by nearly 860 million cedis in 2023. However, in 2024, the fortunes of the bank turned, where it declared a profit, with customer deposits surging by almost 50% to over 12 million cedis. The managing director says the bank is now repositioning itself as a profit-oriented institution.
Our objective is to move from a loss mentality to a profit mentality, but not just a profit mentality, but 1 billion Ghana cedis in profit. So over the past 2-3 months, we've been able to change the mindset and the orientation of all the team members, all staff, and we are all focused. But 1st January 2026, we'll start and be taking the steps towards delivering 1 billion in profit, 100 million of our costs, working towards being among the top 3 banks in Ghana and generating in excess of 35 billion in deposit.
Despite the turn to profitability, the board did not recommend dividend payments, citing the need to further consolidate the bank's financial position. The board chair says ADB's renewed strategy aims to disrupt the market and reaffirm its relevance in Ghana's banking sector.
For us, it's all about customer experience because money is a commodity. Everybody knows the price. So why would I go to bank A and not bank B? And why would I come to ADB? It's about customer experience. The issue with non-performing loans is, yes, it's an issue. But they say if you do the same thing and expect different results, you are mad. And we're doing things that are completely different to make sure that we collect the loans.
ADB Bank PLC is a universal bank offering a comprehensive suite of services across consumer, corporate, public sector, SME, agribusiness, trade, and e-banking. Its core mandate remains universal banking with a developmental focus on agriculture. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obudu. We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Let's start off with our first story, where Fiorentina have confirmed defender Tariq Lamptey has suffered a serious injury following his setback in the Serie A clash against Como on September 21, 2025. In an official medical update, the club reviewed that Lamptey underwent arthroscopic surgery which confirmed a tear in his left anterior cruciate ligament. The procedure also included a successful reconstruction of the ligament, and Lamptey faces a lengthy spell on the sidelines as he begins his recovery progress. The 24-year-old pulled up in the 20th minute after attempting to control a ball in the fixture against Como. Well, as Tariq Lamptey begins his rehabilitation, one player who has come out of that process is Ghana defender Aseidu, who has returned from the same injury which kept him out from action since November 2024. Now, Aseidu made his return from the injury over the weekend for Rennes against Nantes in the French top flight. 3 Sports caught up with the defender and put together this story. 50 days on the sidelines, Ghana defender Aseidu is finally back. The Rennes fullback has completed his recovery from a serious ACL injury that kept him away from the pitch and tested every ounce of his resilience.
As we all know, this ACL process is very difficult, and it's all in the head, like your mentality, how you live, how you cope with this injury. And as I said earlier, my teammates, the staff, my family was with me, so they gave me this energy to work harder to be back. So yeah, I always thank my staff, my friends, everyone, because they gave me a very good energy to go for this very and that went very smooth. The time I had to get like this muscles, because when you get this ACL, you lose everything. Like your thighs become very, very, very skinny and very, very small. So yeah, I think that was the toughest period.
Aseidu's setback came around the same time as his international teammate Tawi Shahaku, and for both players, the journey back has been long and testing. Today, he takes joy in the fact that not only has he returned, but his close friend is also thriving again.
It's always a good feeling to see your friend that you had the ACL at the same time coming back stronger, because what he's showing at the championship is very strong. And yeah, I always talk with him, and a good feeling with him, and he's very, very happy to be back in there. We Ghanaians and we the players at the national team too, we are very, very happy to see Fatau coming back stronger. So yeah, I'm very, very happy, and one of our brothers too in the rehab process, and it's Nuyama who is working harder to come back. So yeah, we are all with him. We wish him to come back to come back harder, and yeah, I'm very happy to see Fatau back here.
For Rennes, his comeback is already showing promise. Aseidu has eased back into action with 2 appearances, 18 minutes against Lorient, followed by a solid 45-minute shift against Lyon. Step by step, he is regaining his rhythm, and with that comes bigger ambitions.
My personal goals is to have a lot of minutes, start games as I do before my injury, and my goal today is to give everything with the team, so that we can qualify for this Europa, because Rennes is a club that always play this Europa. My last 2 seasons we couldn't qualify for Europa, and my goal today is to give everything, to train harder, to give my best, so that we can all put everything together to qualify for this Europa and play more minutes here.
The injury may have slowed him down, but it has not stopped him. Aseidu is back, sharper in mind, stronger in body, and hungrier than ever for success. More updates on our social media handles at 3 Sports. DHL will be providing you updates of ongoing Europa League games and Carabao Cup matches. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and entertainment is next after this break.
Entertainment News segment is brought to you by Stout and Napa Foods, Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil, powered by 3 Entertainment.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Entertainment News segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, award-winning Ghanaian film director Kofi Asamoah, popularly known as Kofas, has called on the National Film Authority to enforce the provisions outlined in Ghana's Film Act. Now, according to the filmmaker, the solutions needed to elevate the Ghanaian film industry are already enshrined in the Film Act. He believes that if these provisions are fully implemented and upheld, they have the potential to significantly advance the industry. Ghana's film industry, once vibrant and full of promise, has in recent years been grappling with structural and financial challenges, leaving many emerging filmmakers struggling to find their footing. But efforts to revive the sector are underway. Just last week, the National Film Authority held a national film dialogue, bringing together key stakeholders and partners to chart a new path forward.
Fund that will be established later. If you are running educational institutions or programs, one of the areas that can qualify you to access the fund is the educational institutions.
Award-winning director Kofi Asamoah, known as Kofas, believes the answers lie in the Film Act itself. He says the Act already contains the policies and frameworks needed to transform the industry if only they are enforced. He's calling on the National Film Authority and government to take bold steps, arguing that proper implementation could unlock jobs, attract investment, and project Ghanaian culture globally.
The NFA should stand in and negotiate on behalf of filmmakers. I want to challenge the NFA that if they will be able to enforce just half of the stipulations of the Film Act, I tell you, and I kid you not, that there will be a lot of difference. There will be a lot of changes in the Ghana film industry. The policies are already there. Everything that we've fought for years is all well stipulated in the Film Act, but enforcement is the problem. And so if we can enforce just half of it, we should be good.
His comments echo growing calls within the creative sector for stronger support, sustainable structures, and real change.
Is it?
And that'll be all for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. Coming up, international news.
Vladimir Putin will keep driving the war forward wider and deeper if it's not stopped, Ukraine's President Zelensky has warned. Speaking at the UN's General Assembly in New York, Zelensky said more countries would be met with Russian aggression unless allies displayed a united front and ramped up support. He said all nations were threatened by a global arms race as military technology advances, adding that weapons decide who survives and called for global rules on AI. His comments come after US President Donald Trump shifted his position on the Russia-Ukraine war, saying for the first time that Ukraine could win back all of its land. Zelensky criticized international institutions, suggesting they are too weak to offer Ukraine safety guarantees, adding in apparent reference to NATO that being part of a long-standing military alliance doesn't automatically mean you are safe.
That's it for our package this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Aseidu Dartey.
And I am Portia Gabor. Do join Alfredo Cancer at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight. Good evening.